Local business vandalized. Who's taking responsibility? A local family expecting a check they've waited for months after reaching out to our whistleblower hotline. Plus, we'll tell you where dozens of people went to get the COVID vaccine but ended up with something different. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. 2021 started off with a bump in the road for the Donald Trump shop off of 45th Street South in Fargo. When an employee got to the shop today, they found the storefront vandalized, spray painted with the hashtag BLM. Valley News Team's Katie Opperly spoke to that employee and the Black Lives Matter organization. She joins us live from outside the shop with the latest. Katie?
Stacy, it is a much different sight here tonight than it was this morning. Only a few spots of red paint remain, as well as some stained snow from the cleanup process. An employee tells me that when they walked up this morning after the vandalism overnight, they were surprised.
I noticed something was going on with the sign. I thought, well, maybe something fell down or something. And then as I got closer, I saw someone had vandalized it, spray painted it.
Red spray paint with a message covering the entire right side of the storefront.
It said Trump didn't win, Trump lost, and get lost. It told me to get lost.
The spray paint was accompanied by a note addressing the store owner saying in part, stop perpetrating a fraud election.
And it said BLM.
Valley News Live reached out to Black Lives Matter Fargo organizers in regards to the BLM being painted on the store, and leaders released a statement that said in part, while the message of Black Lives Matter attached to the act of vandalism last night holds every bit of weight and truth, the leadership does not encourage or condone any acts of destruction or violence. The spray paint was cleaned up by the afternoon, the employee saying this is the first time something like this has happened.
We've been here for like 7 months and really hasn't had much trouble.
The employee tells me that they believe that the police have already identified the person responsible for the vandalism. I'm told that a man posted on Facebook posed with a spray paint can and claiming responsibility for the crime. Reporting live in Fargo, Katie Opperly, Valley News Live.
Thanks, Katie. And to read the full statement from Black Lives Matter on the incident, we have it posted online. Just download the VNL News app and click this story on our homepage. A warning tonight to watch out if you're driving around Fargo, as we're getting reports of snowmobilers illegally riding on streets. Valley News Team's Devin Fry joins us live from North Fargo with more. Devin?
Stacey, I'm here on 10th Street North, where homeowners are saying that snowmobilers are riding on their streets, up on their boulevards, and even crossing their sidewalks. Now, this is something that's not only dangerous, but it also may result in legal action. Now, check out this video that we acquired here at Valley News Live. This is from a security camera from one of the homeowners in this area. You can see in the video here that was captured around 7:30 last night that the unidentified rider actually drives onto the street itself in front of several houses and then drives onto the sidewalk at the end of the video. That's not just to speak on the safety risks of activities like this, but it's actually illegal under city ordinances. No person can operate any snowmobile in the city of Fargo unless they're on property that the owner has given them permission to use, or they've gotten permission from the Fargo Park Board in designated areas. Now, with that comes a Class B misdemeanor along with a fine of at least $100. Now, that fine can increase if there's any accidents that result in injuries or property damage. So think about that before you hop onto your sled to celebrate the new year. Reporting from North Fargo, Devin Fry, Valley News Live.
Thank you, Devin. We reached out to Fargo Police about the incident. We haven't heard back. An auto dealer is mailing out a check to a Morehead family after our whistleblower hotline story aired earlier this evening. The woman says she bought a car and parts for it from Amity Auto in Morehead, who promised to fix the mirror and examine the engine. She says after 3 months, they haven't followed through.
They're telling me I do not get my money back for the parts that I paid for. They are not going to give me the parts, and they are not going to fix the vehicle.
Tonight, the owner of Amity Auto says he'll refund the family the money they spent on parts, telling us they haven't arrived yet. He added that he'll pay for the repairs to be done by another dealer. If you need help uncovering fraud and corruption in your community, call our whistleblower hotline. We'll do our best to get to the bottom of it. Call 701-237-6576 and leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work to expose the truth. The Senate voted to override President Trump's veto of the National Defense Authorization Act. It took 2/3 of the chamber's members to make that happen. The House had already voted to override the veto. The president vetoed the bill because it did not include a repeal of Section 230, which shields internet companies from being liable for what's posted on their websites. He also objected the bill's efforts to rename nearly a dozen military bases and installations bearing the names of Confederate commanders. But the NDAA also sets the defense policy and gives pay raises for American soldiers. Now, this affects North Dakota in a few ways. It'll support service members, including authorizing a 3% pay raise and new equipment to the Minot Air Force Base. It's restricting the retirement of the Global Hawk and continuing to stand up the Space Force and Arctic missions to the Grand Forks Air Force Base. Meanwhile, a bill that would increase the $600 stimulus checks to $2,000 remains stuck in the Senate. The president, Senate Democrats, and a handful of Republicans have come out in support. However, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell continues to oppose bringing a vote. But the debate raged on today in D.C.
This proposal is a shotgun approach where a rifle makes a lot more sense. If you really want to help people who need this the most, at a time when we are running a $26 trillion debt, borrowing every penny that we're making available to do this, we ought to sit down and figure out how to do it in the most efficient, effective, targeted way possible. This absolutely does not do that.
Where was your concern about socialism for the rich when Amazon, owned by the richest guy in the world, got a $129 million tax rebate? I didn't hear much about socialism for the rich during that debate.
Now, Senator John Hoeven gave us a statement earlier today on his views on increased stimulus payments, saying, in part, we are willing to consider the $2,000 stimulus payment. COVID-19 has killed more than 347,000 Americans. So far, more than 20 million in the U.S. have contracted the virus, nearly a quarter of the world's total. Now, a new strain of the coronavirus has been discovered in a third state. CBS News' Lise Preston reports from New York.
A new, apparently more contagious strain of the coronavirus has been found in a third state, Florida. The man in his 20s had no history of travel. Merrill Peterkin, who lives in Martin County, where the new variant was discovered, went for a test on New Year's Day.
It's changing, it's morphing. So I'm not surprised, and you have to take it very seriously.
First seen in the UK, the strain was detected in Colorado and California earlier this week. In California, COVID-19 is on a rampage, averaging more than 250 deaths a day, a 300% increase from a month ago. In the epicenter of Los Angeles, someone is dying from the virus every 10 minutes, and many hospitals are overwhelmed.
It's like treading water from 100 feet below the surface. You're already drowning, but you just have to keep trying because that's what you can do.
As states struggle to inoculate more Americans, police say a Wisconsin pharmacist admitted to tampering with more than 500 doses of the Moderna vaccine. The Grafton resident was arrested.
Grafton is such a tight community that would never expect something like that to happen.
Across the U.S. Friday, New Year's Day traditions were canceled, including Pasadena, California's Rose Parade. This group of car enthusiasts held a caravan instead.
We can safely distance 6 feet apart from each other in our cars with masks on.
Since it began in 1890, the Rose Parade has been canceled only 3 times before this year, all during World War II. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
The Rose Parade organizers presented a virtual televised event instead of the annual parade. Several dozen people in West Virginia went to get the COVID vaccine at a local health clinic on Wednesday, but that's not what they got. The National Guard says 42 people were given a shot of antibodies instead of the vaccine. Those in the health community say typically the antibody treatment is given in hospitals and done via transfusion. Medical experts with the Joint Interagency Task Force say they don't believe there's any risk or harm to the 42 people who were given the shot, but they are being asked to monitor themselves. Still ahead tonight, why these Minnesotans are joining others across the globe, starting off 2021, jumping into freezing water. But first, temperatures starting with a 3 this weekend. Nathan tells us when we can expect our next chance of some showers right after the break.